All right. Hey guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is Mind, Body, and Stress with Dr. Yolanda. And I am so excited because this is our only our second show. So those of you who are joining us today, I want to hear from you. Where are you guys watching from? Is this a special day for you? I don't know if anybody, those of you who know me yesterday, we celebrated our 32nd anniversary for my line sisters and I of Delta Sigma Theta. And so this being Women's History Month, we also celebrate Sisterhood Month. So shout out to all the Deltas and Delta Sigma Theta land out here in America for Sisterhood Month. But shout out to all of D9, to Alpha Kappa Alpha, to Sigma Gamma Rho, and to Zeta Phi Beta. We are so we get along despite what the world thinks of us. We are all excited when we are thriving. We are all excited to see each other do well. And on that tip, one of the things I wanted to mention, this is about this particular month being Women's History Month, just a little bit of history about Women's History Month. So I don't know if you all know about Women's History Month. I had to learn a little bit about it, and it actually started off as just a day, just like Negro History Week is what began the Black History Month that we celebrate now all the month of February. It started off as a week. And now we're here, and that was sorry, Carter G. So now we want to talk about Women's History Month. And Women's History Month started off as a day. It was in 1909, February 28th. It was celebrated as just a day. And then it became a week in 1978. And finally, in 1987, it was expanded to a month. And so each year there's a theme. And this year, the theme, which I love, is Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope. What an awesome theme, right? So here I am as a physician, a Black female physician. There's only 2% of the physicians in America are Black women. And so I love this theme, providing healing and promoting hope. And one of the women that I want to shout out, actually a couple of women I want to shout out, is Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's right, y'all. She's a part of the D9. She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And she has been nominated as the first candidate for the Supreme Court as a Black woman. So obviously, shout out to our President Joe Biden for having that vision. But Clyburn was a part of that. Jim Clyburn said, hey, we need to get some Black women on this Supreme Court. So, when Thurgood Marshall, once he had passed and was gone, we got one Black male to replace him. But now we're going to finally get what it looks like. If everybody plays fair, we're going to get a Black woman in there. So this is exciting, exciting, exciting. Another woman I wanted to shout out for Women's History Month is none other than Dr. Kizzmekia. I always have to look at her real name because we were calling her Dr. Kizzy for so long. So Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, for again, her role, it cannot be said enough, the role that she played in promoting or providing manufacturing and basically developing rather the Moderna vaccine. So I saw a couple people's sites come up, and somebody said they were actually tuning in from India. That is so exciting. And so just keep telling me where you're tuning in from, who's on here now. Make sure you tell me if you have any things that you're interested in talking about. I wanted to make sure that I pointed out that I'm wearing today blue and yellow to stand in solidarity with Ukraine. We all know that right now there's a lot going on in the world. And last month when we got on here for the first time, one of the things that was on in the news was that we were mourning the loss of a couple of young people in our community who had taken their lives. They had died by suicide. And this month, here we are now in the middle of a war that's happening in Ukraine and the people of Ukraine. And so our hearts go out to them. Our prayers go out to them. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that this is what I'm here doing. And my blue and my yellow is standing in solidarity with Ukraine. My heart, as I watch the images of the orphanages, the kids in the orphanage who had to be hunkered down in the basement in a bunker, the families that have had to flee, all the places that they've had to go just to pick up and leave their homes. So I just want everybody to just be mindful today and all the days of this month and months going forward as this thing unfolds. I know gas prices are up and all these things are up, but it's a sacrifice that we're willing to take on while this family goes into, while these families are going into transition. Hello from New Jersey. I can see you. I see you there. So we're going to go ahead and transition. We've been
couple of quick things, Doc.
Yeah.
You made some great points, especially about the Supreme Court nominee.
Yes.
Being a Black female. I want to get that is women's history being in the present. But I just want our audience to recognize and remember that she's not the only Black female that was qualified to be in this position.
No,
so you see a lot of conservative media and other media outlets talking about, well, we want to make the most qualified. Why is it being reverse discrimination and blah, 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 blah. No. The discrimination happened for the entire time the Supreme Court was in existence when a Black woman wasn't even considered to be nominated. And so now, and remember the previous regime said that he was going to select a woman and he chose Amy Coney Barrett. I think that's her name.
And he wasn't the first one. Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan was the first one to say, hey, I'm going to appoint a woman, and no one had a problem with that.
Exactly. So this is not unprecedented. So don't let them try to fool you and gaslight you into thinking it's unprecedented. Second thing I will say is I appreciate what you're doing and how you're standing for Ukraine. That is a very, very just unfortunate situation. They're going to call it a conflict. This is aggression, right? And this is just an aggressive move by Russia. And I just want to remind everyone, because I know news cycles switch so quickly.
Right.
This is the reason why the previous president was impeached the first time was because he withheld aid to Ukraine.
Defense aid. Let's be clear.
He withheld defense aid to Ukraine because he was trying to get dirt on his opponent, and he was impeached for that reason. So,
and Ukraine was already saying we're being threatened.
Yes.
Because already it happened with Crimea, right? So it's a threat that Russia wants to invade us. And everybody kept saying, oh, he wouldn't do that. He'd never do that. And so when he did it, nobody, really most of those, we weren't shocked. Right. Well, we were just shocked by how brazen and how bold he was in doing it. But like you said, there's gaslighting going on.
There's a lot of gaslighting going on. So please vote in your midterm elections. Please.
Oh, gosh, please. The primaries, the midterms. Don't just wait for that 4-year that comes around for us to vote for a president. All of these other positions, you guys see what these governors are doing with some of these mayors and governors. And although the masks are starting to come off because we're following the science, there's a lot of people pushing for us to do some really dangerous things even before now. And you just have to be aware of it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Because that short list was an amazing short list. I didn't write everybody's names down because I was I wanted to make sure I said Ketanji Brown Jackson right. But we had several. We had to hit about at least 5 women who were just excellent choices on that short list of his. And
I think the total list was 8. I think he had 8 on his original list.
Yeah.
And just FYI. She is more qualified, because you're going to hear that term or not. She is more qualified than Amy Coney Barrett,
and more qualified than the male
Brett Kavanaugh.
Right?
Yeah. The last 2 that were appointed by the last
2 of them combined.
Yes, she is more qualified. So.
And here's another gaslight. Here's another discriminatory thing is that we recently heard that there's a host on a particular network that wants to know what her LSAT scores are. I've never heard. That's like asking for Obama's birth certificate. I mean, never in history have we had them ask for a Supreme Court justice's a candidate's LSAT scores, and all of a sudden that it just blows my mind.
Here's how you respond to that. I'm gonna give y'all just a little hint to how you respond to that. So when they ask for, well, she won't even produce her LSAT score. Say, well, then ask me why Donald Trump was suing the University of Pennsylvania. You can look this up.
To
It's
not release his
to not
score.
release his transcripts. So
Right.
you'll get her LSAT scores when he releases his transcripts
And his taxes.
and stop him to
Let's
threaten to sue
you'll
the
get her
University of
LSAT
Pennsylvania.
scores when we get his taxes. You'll get her LSAT scores. There's a whole lot of stuff we haven't gotten. So
Exactly. So I'm not trying to hear all that. So just
me either. So congratulations.
What young people say, miss me with all that? Miss me with that.
Right. And congratulations for the nomination.
Yes.
To judge. She's already a judge. Now they just want to promote her. But to Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes.
And also, again, shout out to Dr. As a physician, I have to say this, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett for her role in manufacturing the Moderna.
She led the team. So she led a team of wonderful scientists, professionals.
Amazing.
Amazing. And just a young, vibrant in her 30s.
And still working. I mean, working hard in the community. What a lot of people don't know is that she's actually really active in her community, in getting girls involved in STEM, and just getting people excited about science, and really just engaging the community about vaccines, vaccine hesitancy, and just so much more, because there's so many people who don't do all of that extra stuff. They just sit in that research lab, and that would be fine. Actually, that's enough right there to just participate in the work that she does. But because she does so much more, I just really wanted to highlight her.
Yeah, so those are two pioneers, two women that are making history today. So as we get ready to transition to our main topic of the day, if you're just joining us, we are watching Mind, Body, and Stress right here with Dr. Yolanda. She's Dr. Yolanda Lewis-Ragland. She is a board-certified pediatrician and bariatrician. I have to say that properly. A bariatrician here, and she has a wonderful, wonderful program planned for you today. So there's a lot going on this month. March is packed. We're going to be talking about it's colorectal cancer awareness month. It's kidney health month. It is Women's History Month. But we felt it was really important to highlight those women that are doing spectacular things. So we've had Dr. Corbett here. I'm not even going to try to say her first name. We've had Dr. Corbett here multiple times.
I'm going to keep saying Kizzmekia because I made myself learn it. It's Kizzmekia.
What she said. Corbett to... we've had her here multiple times on BlackDoctor.org. So if you want to see those early appearances during the beginning of the pandemic, it's on our YouTube channel. You can go to the BlackDoctor.org YouTube page. So we have a wonderful show planned, and that was just the beginning. That was just a teaser. Wonderful show today, because today is all about looking youthful begins with you. That's YOU. I know you've seen the promo on BlackDoctor.org. And so Dr. Yolanda is going to give you some great tips on how to look and be more youthful. We're going to roll back that clock, that time. We're going to roll it back, because if we both told you our ages, you wouldn't believe it. But I would tell you this, is that we've been following this playbook, and so she's going to share her playbook with you all to help you look more useful today. So get your pen and pad ready, get your popcorn ready, and take some notes, because we got some hot stuff we're about to drop for you right now.
I love this topic, guys. So, the fact that we're talking about youth and talking about just sort of recapturing our youth and valuing our youth, really, we just have to stop and smell the roses and value life right now, right? Just coming out of, and we're still in it. Wash your hands, 6 feet from people that you don't know, especially if people seem to have symptoms. Please stay at home. We all know that the newer variant that we've been dealing with is more contagious, but less likely to make you deathly ill or sick, especially if you're vaccinated. But coming out of this pandemic, as we go on to sort of maintain in this new normal, we're just happy to be alive, right? We're happy that we survive, because there's some of us that can't have that don't have that testimony, that don't have the ability to say that, and many of us lost some people. But as we lost family members, as we lost coworkers, as some of us lost patients that we were serving in our practices, we have to recognize that it took a toll on us, right? It took a toll on us. It took a toll on you. It took a toll on me. It took a toll on our children. And often that toll, sometimes it's called survivor's guilt. Some of you may be dealing with that, right? A spouse that was lost, a family member that was lost, and you're here. And you may have done all the same things. You're in the same household. You were exposed to the same people, but you're here. And they're not. And so there's some things that we're dealing with. Stress. A lot of us are dealing with stress. There's all these memes out there. I saw one that I really liked, and it said, we're all short-handed right now. So be kind and gentle to those of us who showed up. Because some people, we all know about the Great Resignation. Some people decided it's time enough to stay home and not provide some of the services that they were providing. So those of us who continue to provide those services, there's a lot of stress. We're overwhelmed. There's a lot happening. So it's taking a toll. One of the reasons this show came about, mind, body, and stress, with Dr. Yolanda, is because of these very topics, right? These things that we've come through, we've been able to come through, and now in coming through, I want us to now figure out how to actually feel good and look good, right? As we come to this new normal. So one of the first things that I want to share with you about ways to look younger, I talk about this all the time, guys. Eating clean and green. What is that? Eating clean and green. It's a plant-based diet, more or less. We're talking about a plant-based diet. So you can write this down, but I've been talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about it. Plant-based diets are so good for you. A plant-based diet is rich in anti-inflammatory antioxidants that we need to eat. That we need for our rejuvenation. It repairs cells and cell damage. And it actually gives us a lot of the energy that we're looking for. But when you combine a plant-based diet with some things like exercise and some other things that I'm going to talk about, you are adding years of life to your cells. Studies have shown that this way of eating lengthens something we call, and I'm going to give y'all a scientific term, it's a telomere, Telomer. So when you're eating a plant-based diet, a clean diet, foods that you're very intentional about, not high in sugar, that are fruits and vegetables, you're increasing the length of telomeres within your genes, within your cell cycles. And a telomere is basically a part of the gene. And I'm not going to get into exactly what it is, but what I'm going to tell you is that when you age, telomeres shorten. But there's also certain things that you do in your life that studies have shown. We look at people's cells and their genes, and their telomeres are shorter than they should be. But as you age, natural process, your telomeres shorten. Well, science studies have shown that those who eat plant-based diets, even at these older ages, when they're compared to individuals, their colleagues, their companions that are the same age, that are consuming a meat-centered diet, that the telomeres are longer, more or lengthened for those who are eating plant-based diet, and they tend to live longer. Their guts are healthier, and their lifespan is actually longer. So I want y'all to start eating clean, eating more vegetables, eating more fruit, and trying to incorporate a plant-based diet in your daily routine. Okay. And then a lot of that means that you're increasing fiber as well. I'd rather you eat an orange than drink orange juice. Why? because there's less sugar. The concentration, you take what, 8 to 10. Because here's the problem: when people hear fruits and vegetables, they also think that things like juices are okay. Juicing is okay because you're using the fresh fruit at that time. A lot of times when you're drinking juice from the store, they're concentrated, very high in processed sugar, but it also doesn't include the fiber from the pulp. The fiber and the pulp, it actually lowers, it keeps your blood sugar leveled. And that's really important to prevent and to basically ward off diabetes, right? So you don't want a whole bunch of sugar and you dumped into your system, then your body has to dump a bunch of insulin out. You want it to be gradually released into your system just for the energy that you need. And that excess sugar, a lot of times we process it and there's only, and for storage, and there's only one storage system we have, and that's fat. So the more sugar you eat, the more fat that you're storing. But when you're eating fresh fruits and vegetables, there's only so much. That's what I love about it. You can only eat so many apples and oranges, but when you're sometimes juicing or compressing or taking concentrates, you're taking in the sugar of 10 to 12 of those fruit, versus when you're eating, your stomach can only hold 1 to 2 of those because it gets full, and that's what the fiber is for. So the next one.
Yeah, let me just give you a couple other great things about fiber. Is fiber also helps with your cholesterol levels.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
clears that right out of that, and so therefore, if you're
Lowers
talking about
it.
trying to lower that cholesterol, I know I have tendency to have high cholesterol, so fiber, eating high fiber, chia also is fiber. So those things, and when you think about juices, because I know Doc is talking about juices. When they do that from concentrate, they're taking it all. What they mean is they're packing it all the way down. They're adding some sugar to it, and then they're putting water into it to stretch it out, right? And so those things are just high in sugar, but you take all of the good nutrients and from the fiber out of that, and yeah, it tastes good. I get it. It tastes good, but the two words that you don't want to look at when you're going to shop and you're in the grocery store is from concentrate. When you see that on the side of the package, try to find those juices that are most natural, or pick up that orange and juice it yourself and get your own
Juice it
juice.
yourself. And that's
Juice.
my that's really my advice. If you can, and juicers are not very expensive. You know, you can go on Amazon right now and you can find a pretty reasonable juicer these days. I have a juicer, food processor. These are all the things that I sort of implement in my desire to eat healthy. The next one kind of goes along with what we just talked about in the first one, and that's you got to decrease sugar, especially processed sugar. I just talked about how juices can be too much sugar. You think you're doing the right thing because it sounds like, well, we just talked about a plant-based diet. So I'm going to add fruits and I'm going to add vegetables. But I really want you to add fruits and vegetables, not just the juice from fruits and vegetables. So you got to decrease sugar. So excess sugar is linked to a lot of age-related illnesses and conditions like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, kidney disease. All of these things are linked to a lot of the sugars, especially the processed sugars that we're eating. There are also sugary drinks they've been implicating in cell aging. So I'm going to tell you this again. Telomeres. This is a word I want y'all to get this. If you don't remember anything else, you're going to remember telomeres from today. Because people who drink more soda have been studied and they have much shorter telomeres than those who drink water, fruit juices that are juiced, even probably even some of the concentrated. But really, you're going to lengthen your telomeres, which is a sign of aging when you stop consuming excess sugar. All right. So I want you to lower the sugar in your diet by taking out a lot of the processed sugars. And here's the deal. All sugar isn't sweet, right? So the word carbohydrate, a lot of times I'm talking about white potatoes, white rice, bread. That stuff isn't necessarily sweet, but your body's still having the same reaction. So potato chips, French fries, pasta, that stuff is high in sugar. When your body breaks it down, it doesn't necessarily taste sweet. So I have had these conversations where people say, oh, I don't really eat a lot of sugar, doc. I'm not really a sweets person. I'm not only talking about desserts. I'm talking about some of the other sugars. So I need you, the way to handle this is the natural sugars that I'm talking about are in fruits and vegetables. So if you want a plant-based diet, you have to increase the foods that are coming from plants, plant-based. And fresh fruits and vegetables are the best way to do this. All right. Number 3, you all know I was going to say this. Move your body, okay? When you are moving your body regularly, you actually get more energy and more strength. So, research has found that regular exercisers, here I go again, have telomeres as long as those of sedentary, as long as those that sedentary people that are 10 years younger than them. Okay. So move. So I'm moving my body and I'm 51 years old. We talked about it. I don't mind telling my age. I have a 22-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And my 22-year-old and I, we almost celebrate a birthday together. We're one day off. And so when I celebrated my 50th, she celebrated her 21st. And I was there. We all took my family out, and I water ski, I snow ski, I ice skate. If I'm gonna take the kids out to go do something, guess who's out there doing it with them? I move my body as much as I can. And I'm always um, uh, just amused at how many times I'll go out with some of her friends or some folks with us who are younger than me, and they just don't move as much, or they're shocked or surprised at how much I actually move. So this study shows that someone who's moving 50 years old like me, who's moving and regularly exercises, because I like to walk, I get on my Peloton, whatever I can do. And my preference is anywhere from 3 to 5 miles a day. A 3 mile walk is a 5K. All right. So you want to get at least 5K in if you can. But my telomeres would be the same length as someone who's 10 years younger than me who doesn't move. So the more you move, the more you're going to lengthen those telomeres, and you're going to increase your longevity, and you're really knocking off years, upwards of 10 years, I just told you, with exercise. All right. But the other thing that exercise does, and stretching and flexibility, is it lowers inflammation. So studies have shown, and I have an orthopedics docs that I talk about getting a morning stretch in, how it increases your flexibility and it decreases a lot of the degenerative conditions that you might face when you get older, like arthritis and other degenerative disorders. So moving, exercising, and particularly stretching will help with it says your flexibility and the tension in your achy joints. Okay.
Absolutely. So we've got a great question from one of our viewers that's watching
Yay.
here today.
Okay.
This is coming from Stephanie, and she says her mother is 90 years old and demands soda and a candy bar every day with her meals. She can consume a half large bottle of soda in a day. Should I not worry about it at her age? She is in very good health, but is also dealing with dementia. So what recommendations do we have? So understanding that, just let me say the disclaimer that these are just recommendations. She should be talking
Yeah.
to our primary care physicians.
Yeah.
So this is not considered medical advice. This is just, hey, what Dr. Yolanda is thinking.
And I get it. Because some of these habits, interestingly, there are people that you'll run into at ages of 90, 95, and they're daily smokers. And we're going, how, right? So the truth of the matter is, you're going to have those outliers that no matter
Yes.
what they're doing, there's some good genes there. They've probably been doing some other things that help combat that. What I will say about sugar is, one, it's addictive. So she's dealing with a true addiction. If that's the thing that she sort of demands every day, it's this addiction that is hard to break. But it does. Studies have shown that that inflammation and the sugar that comes from these sodas and candies and things are also associated with Alzheimer's. So dementia, Alzheimer's, those things are actually connected too. Anything that you can do. This is one of those things. I don't know if she'll do at least a diet soda. I don't know if she'll do a soda with, here's what I used to do with my kids. This is me. I used to give, and just first of all, I have this conversation with her because at this age and stage, whatever you can do to keep her comfortable is probably going to be easier in life. But what I used to do for my kids is as a soda substitute, is I used to do sparkling water, and I would add juice to it. I would add flavor, right? I'd add like some kind of a pomegranate juice or something, So I'd give them the sugar that they wanted from a fresh juice drink, but I'd also give them sparkling water so that it would have less sugar. I don't know if that'll work with a 90-year-old woman who is bent on having her soda and her candy bar each day. So that's a struggle. Sometimes you gotta weigh the benefits, the cons and the pros. If it's gonna be, harder for you in your daily routine to change her up, then you might want to help her along. But if you can do a diet soda, a zero sugar soda, something like that, you could at least decrease the sugar. And it doesn't reverse dementia, but it would definitely slow it down when you begin to take some of those sugars out of her diet.
If I could also add, Stephanie, another thing, give your mother the benefit of her context, right? So somebody that's 90, think about when she grew up and what she was eating when she was growing up versus what we were eating now. So a lot of people that are older, especially in that age, were eating a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables growing up and during those key developmental times. So like now, because she wasn't eating a lot of processed foods like we did going in the 70s and 80s and 90s, we eat a lot more processed food now. We eat a lot more sugars now. We eat a lot more foods that are unhealthier for us. And we started those at much earlier times. Those Lunchables that we were giving our kids and all how bad, those things out. There weren't no Lunchables when she was born. That
was the original farm to table generation.
Yes.
That's why so many of them are so healthy, as you're saying.
Her health could be built upon that. So her foundation of her health is built on fresh fruits and fresh foods that she was eating when she was younger. So like now she's older, a candy bar and a soda. I like Dr. Ragland's recommendation. Give her, you sneak in a sugar-free soda. And if she doesn't complain, keep giving her that sugar-free soda. Cut the candy bar. Don't give her the whole candy bar. Cut it in half, reduce it so she still gets the taste. Sometimes it's about habits, right? And so if we give her something that can satisfy that habit, but also lower her sugar intake, will be very, very helpful. So.
And I'm gonna tell you a secret as a parent. If my kids, I used to give them these chocolate oat granola bars, and I called them candy. So that's what they thought was a candy bar. So, and I would cut them into pieces. So they came in a bar, and I'd cut them into 3. I had 3 kids. I cut them into 3, and I'd give them the third, and that was candy to them. And I remember being somewhere, and a friend of theirs said, "That's not a candy bar. That's a granola bar." And my daughter came home and said, "Mom, you've been giving us a granola bar and calling it candy all this time." And for me, as long as the roots, as long as I could maintain it, I knew eventually they'd find out. But as they got older, they weren't really big on candy because of it. Like that was their candy bar. And I mean, to me, it was sweet enough because a lot of granola bars do have a lot of sugar, to be honest. But in my mind, at least I was adding some oats, nuts, something like that along with it. So sometimes, a candy bar even that has nuts in it, if she doesn't have a nut allergy, but that has some more protein to it, that's also sometimes a little bit helpful if you have to do the candy bar, right? So what's number 4? Number 4 is interesting because there's science behind this, but trying new experiences with your support system, like your family and your friends. So a study showed that adults who are open to new experiences and that are able to take life as it comes, be a little bit more flexible, they tend to live longer, healthier, and happier lives. And believe me, relationships matter. So you are not only are you opening yourselves up to experiences, but you're also increasing your social connections. And research has linked a low level of social support to what? Short telomeres, right? So as I'm talking to you about these telomeres, which are part of your gene that studies have been done on, you can lengthen them when you're spending time, when you have a good social support, and when you're experiencing new and fun things. Those shorter telomeres were associated with people who didn't have a social support system and who didn't experience new things, who were sort of stuck in their routines. And so, science shows us that it's actually a good thing. It lengthens our telomeres. It actually lengthens our lifespans, and it makes us younger when we are spending time with family and friends. So that social connection matters. It really does.
It's huge. I've read some of those same reports, and so here's the ways you can combine some things, right? So you get you a group, and y'all get you a walking group, right? So now you're doing moving, and you're extending your social. One of the things that I try to do is that, because a lot of times, especially as we get older, you say, "Oh, that's what the younger generation does." Talk to them, right? Talk to them. It's not that I'm trying to be all over TikTok. I do have a TikTok, but I don't have any videos posted.
Me either.
But I watch it because I have a daughter. My daughter is going to be 20 at the end of the month, and I want to know what she's watching. And so I can engage now in conversations with her and her roommates in college, because I can speak at their level and not just talk about, oh, that's what the young people do. The more you isolate from society is the path to your demise and looking older and feeling older. So if you can engage, and some of the studies I read said even just engaging at the grocery store with the cashier, any type of social engagement can help extend your life and have you be living more fully. So please do that. Combine them. Do whatever you need to do.
And this explains why, there's the little old lady or the little old man who takes that walk every single day around the neighborhood and just speaks to everybody they see. Yep. They speak to you. I have a few of those in my neighborhood, and they're always speaking. They ask me about my kids, and I stop and I'll talk to them, because this is a purpose that they have, and they might not actually have anyone at home. So their social connections, they're actually being intentional about making their social connections outside of their homes. This is why, the little old lady with the 10 cats, those are social connections. So I don't want you to think you really can't get a pet. If you're an empty nester, you might want to decide to get you a pet, get something that is going to increase. I have a friend of mine, my neighbor, she's an empty nester. Her son went off to college, and that's the first thing she did. She got a dog. Now she walks the dog around the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't think about how we can increase those social interactions, because a lot of people were like, COVID, I have to stop. No, that isolation was actually something that studies have been done on, that was actually causing some of us to have anxiety, depression. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm talking about how to feel younger, even if you get a Zoom, we had a monthly Zoom meeting with my family. And I think we were interacting even more during the pandemic, because we would get on one Sunday a month and everybody would pop on. We celebrate birthdays on Zoom. Anything that you can do to increase that social connection, I'm telling you, it makes a world of difference.
Two things are happening. That couple you're talking about, that's mental stimulation, right? So that's keeping their mind sharp, because they're remembering, hey, talking about your kids, talking about, oh yeah, I remember you did this and that. That keeps that mind. It kind of wards off dementia and that memory loss that happens as we get older. Second thing is having a pet. Responsibility, right? I have to do this. So that keeps your body, hey, I've got to get up, gives you a sense of purpose. I've got to get up, I've got to feed the dog, I've got to watch the dog. Those type of responsibilities keeps our body moving, keeps our body fresh, doesn't start.
Keeps our mind sharp.
Keeps your mind sharp. Hey, I got to feed, it's 2:05, I got to feed the dog. So you start remembering all those different things. And so all those things help your body stay in the now, keep looking younger, keep your mind sharp, and your physical activities going. So great advice.
Yeah. So I have another one. It's interesting. You probably would think, well, it's a little counterintuitive, but helping others helps you. So there's a meta-analysis that was done, this study that was done, where it looked at a bunch of different people, different different locations and different times. So it's a sort of like a retroactive study. They kind of look back over the years, and it was a study of adults for over age 55, and they found that regular volunteering, those that regularly volunteer were 24% less likely than those that did not volunteer to die over the course of the study that they were doing. So there's something about giving, doing for others, helping others. Again, just like we were just talking about having a pet, there's a sense of purpose that comes along with it. Feeling useful. It causes your brain, apparently, and these are the studies that have been done, it causes your brain to make more of a hormone called oxytocin and another one called progesterone. And these actually help curb stress and reduce inflammation. And again, these are the things that you see with less dementia as well. All right. So I'm telling y'all, these
oxytocin, doc. You know what else? Oxytocin gets produced when women have children.
Yeah.
It gets produced in the body, and it causes you to bond with your child. Oxytocin gets produced when a couple engages in
yes,
in lovemaking
relationships.
It causes the couple to bond together.
Yeah.
So that oxytocin. So when you're talking about giving and sharing with others, that oxytocin production keeps us connected to the world, and that connection is what keeps us alive and looking younger. So very, very important information.
Yep. So I'm telling y'all, there's science behind these tips. You know, I'm not just throwing them out there. Mandatory timeouts. I'm going to tell y'all about meditation for me, but anytime that you're taking time out to reflect or spend time, especially, you know, with, like I said, with meditation, it does some good things to your body. Reduces your blood pressure. It actually boosts your immune system. It lowers stress. It also eases insomnia. You would think, well, I'm resting during the day. Why would that work with insomnia? It actually, it improves your sleep cycle when you do some sort of mindfulness, particularly one that is time induced reflection. Right. So with transcendental meditation, for example, I do it twice a day for 20 minutes. And it improves my energy during the day, but it also improves my sleep at night. I promise you. And again, these are studies that have shown. The other thing that it does is it lowers cortisol. It lowers compulsive eating, and it also lowers depression. So I've said something right there where I don't know how many of y'all don't want to ward off depression, to stop compulsory eating, to lower your blood pressure. I mean, there's so many side positive benefits for something like meditation and mindfulness reflection that I feel like every single person on here should want to figure out how to get into this practice. Okay. So that's meditation, mindfulness. It has so many positive effects. I only have a couple more. Invest in a facial routine. So we're talking about looking younger, but there's some things that are very specific that you should be participating in. So first of all, get a facial routine. Don't just wash your face at night with some water, some soap, and go to bed. You want to actually take some time massaging your skin, learning how to rub up on your neck, you know, basically, you know, doing a mini massage, light massage with just the balls of your fingers. And you can add things that will decrease the damage to your DNA, like prickly pear, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A. There's all of these things. And I'm not here to promote any particular brand or any particular, you know, if I had stock in something, I'd tell you about it. But I want to just say that getting a facial routine is important in investing in yourself and investing in your face, your look, and your youth. It's really important. But there's a part to this that I want to make sure I add, and this is the next tip. It's moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. So moisturizers, they trap water into the skin, and they help reduce the appearance of wrinkles and lines. They make your face look brighter, more radiant. And there's some substances you want to make sure you're using, like hyaluronic acid, glycerin. These are all things that they can help moisturize your skin, plump your skin and make you feel younger. A lot of times what gives people away is the wrinkles on their face, the wrinkles on their chin, and you can actually take care of that just on a with a nightly routine. You can actually make sure that you're looking and feeling your best. And I'm going to end with one that's very close to that, and that's drinking plenty of water. Again, you're moisturizing from the outside, but you need to moisturize from the inside too. And that means drinking water, drinking water, drinking water. It plumps up your cells. So many people, especially in the wintertime, you really don't realize how much water you're releasing from your skin. The wind blowing against you, your hair is a little bit drier, your lips are drier and chapped, because of the wind and because of those low temperatures. So you can moisturize. So no one ever feels this stuff in the summertime or when they go off to a tropical island, right? But in the winter, you do. So in the wintertime, you really need to do a lot more drinking of water. And if you can alkalinize your water, either drinking alkaline water or alkalinize your water with lemon or lime or something that alkaline water, it's a very high pH, that actually wards off infection and it wards off inflammation. So inflammatory cells are most active in an acidic environment, but they are not in an alkaline environment. So you want to alkalinize your water when you can, flush your system by drinking lots of water. Water also will curb your appetite if you're drinking properly. One of the things that I do personally in my own practice, my integrative medicine practice, is I do IV hydration drips for my patients, because a lot of times you're a lot more dehydrated than you realize. Okay, so hydration, hydration, hydration. So those are my 9 tips. I hope y'all wrote them down. We'll recap in a minute. Go ahead, Ellis.
We're going to circle it back through, but good point. So in the comment section, I dropped a link to a YouTube video that we have on BlackDoctor.org, and it's called Ask a Dermatologist. So everything what that Dr. Yolanda is talking about, it is right there on that video. It's about a 7-minute video, and it's all these series of questions that are asked directly to a dermatologist about your hair and your skin. And one of the things she talks about is you have to change your skin regimen as the seasons change. Summertime is hotter, you're sweating more, your skin tends to get oily. And in the wintertime, it's colder, your skin tends to get drier. You can't keep the same regimen throughout the year. Otherwise, you will mess your skin up. Also, we know about Black people, we tend to have blemishes. And so there's some things that we talked about, those chemical peels and other regimens that can cause it. So make sure if you do decide to get one of those procedures, that you're using one that's culturally competent, right? You have a dermatologist that's culturally competent that understands that our skin tends to blemish, and that we're not using products on our face that will cause those blemishes and darkening in other areas and discoloration. So always make sure that our skin is different than the general majority, and so we have to take that into account when we're buying during a regimen. But ultimately, we know inflammation is bad. We've got to get rid of inflammation inside and outside of our body.
Inside and out, and that's the thing. And that's what I love about BlackDoctor.org, right? Where it's really getting information out there that's culturally competent information, because everybody is not the same. All things are not equal, right? So we got to remember that there are some things that we just have to keep in mind for our skin types. And your face is your calling card. So you hate to have a mistake made and then try to figure out, how you're going to fix that. So these are some really important things to know about. So eating clean, decreasing that sugar, moving more. And again, because we talked about doing things with a group, getting an accountability group and moving together is always a win-win, because you're able to do both things. You're killing 2 birds with one stone. Helping others, volunteerism or philanthropy, any ways that you can. I call it advocacy and activism, because that's what I'm all about. So anything that you can do to help others. Mandatory timeouts, meditation, things like that. There's so many positive benefits that we talked about. Investing in a facial routine, making sure you're moisturizing, that's on the outside, and make sure you're drinking plenty of water. That's adding to being moisturized on the inside. Okay, so
and drink water when you're hungry. because a
Yeah,
lot of
and
times,
drinking water when you're hungry will reduce it curbs your appetite. There's a
yes,
study that's been done, and I highlighted in my book, Dr. Yolanda's Soul Food. I don't think we've talked about this, but I have a book called Dr. Yolanda's Soul Food Therapy. Soul stands for Savory, Organic, Unprocessed Living Food. And I have a study that I highlight in there where they show that at least 35% of people who think they're hungry are actually thirsty.
yep.
And if they drink water, it actually curbs their appetite and they'll go back to doing what they were doing. But many of us, I actually drink about 2 of these a day, if not 3. Sometimes by about 7 p.m., I'm still on, I go to the third one. I only stop in the middle. There you go. In the middle of I stop at around that time because I don't want to be up all night. But I add lemon, lime. I have, in this particular one today, I have some fresh ginger, some mint. I'm adding all kinds of stuff because, and I have an emergency packet that I put in, right? So anything that I can do, everything is intentional. Everything is with purpose, right? So
Yep.
adding that water, but I'm alkalizing and I'm giving it flavor so that, I'm enjoying it all day long.
All right, so we got it. We're wrapping up an hour. We haven't get to Playing for Keeps. So if you're new to this, if you're new to the show, Playing for Keeps is a series of cards that are suited, like a regular playing deck of playing cards. They are suited, and each suit represents a specific area. Dr. Yolanda is going to tell you about that, and then in each show we're going to do one from each suit, and it's going to give you some ways to improve your life. So, Dr. Yo, take it away.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, I'm gonna do this quickly so we can wrap up. But there are 52 cards in the playing cards that we do, and I actually had to research this, and I didn't know that it actually represents the 52 weeks in a year, and that each suit represents the 4 seasons, right? So you have the hearts, the diamonds, the clubs, the spades, and there's some meanings behind this. So if you're into astrology and some of the stuff, you might have read some of the stuff, but I had not been into it, so I had to read up on it. And it showed and talked about how the spades was sort of like summer, it's challenging. I think the clubs was like spring. Anyway, they all had it talked about which one was autumn and winter and summer and fall. Autumn, winter, summer, and spring. But what I did was I put these 52 cards together for each week in the year to represent how you could do self-care over the year. And that's great because you can start at any time. So if you didn't start last time, you can start now, right? So the 4 weeks that we're going to do for this next month, for the month of March, we're going to do hearts, which represents self-love. So what we're going to do for hearts and self-love, we're going to actually do drinking calming herbal tea for that week. For any week of this month, a whole week, you're going to drink calming herbal tea. What are they? Why is that good for you? Things like chamomile reduce anxiety, reduce stress, improves your sleep. Lavender tea, also good for relaxation and decreasing stress. Valerian tea is a good sleep aid. It reduces stress, and it's been known to reduce headaches and heart palpitations. And there are other teas like lemon balm and passion flower, magnolia bark. These are the types of teas, but there's some others. But any kind of an herbal tea at night, at bedtime, that will reduce your stress and anxiety, I want you to do that for at least a week for this month. Okay. The next card we pulled for our spades, which is always a physical challenge, is I want you to take a 15 to 30-minute walk each day in the middle of the day during this week. Why the middle of the day? A lot of times we try to do it in the morning and in the evening, but that midday walk is postprandial if you do it after you eat your lunch. It actually improves your digestion, improves your energy, helps you burn more fat. It's great if you can get 2 in. So if you can get 1 in after dinner and after lunch, that would be great. But since we're only trying to do it 1 week out of the month, choose a week when after lunch you could take a 15 to 30-minute walk, and you'd be surprised at how much it actually helps with digestion, fat burning, maintaining weight, or even weight loss. The next card we pulled was a 5 of diamonds. So diamonds represent spiritual a challenge that's spiritual, right? So for a week this month, I want you to assemble a jigsaw puzzle. So you're asking yourself, well, what does a jigsaw puzzle have to do with a spiritual experience? So when you assemble a puzzle or something like that, it's a time of reflection, right? You're concentrating on the placement of the puzzle pieces, and just like in the natural and the spiritual, you're trying to figure out where these pieces fit and why. So these puzzle pieces are chosen, they're intentional, and they complete, right, a picture. And during this time, you might want to ask yourself, how are you being intentional about the choices that you're making in your life? How you being intentional about the pieces and the people that you're fitting into your life? Does everybody fit? Do some people need to be extricated, removed, or at least put into a different area where they don't have as much access to you? I think this is a spiritual way of self-care. Everything isn't religion when we talk about our spirit man, right? And then that last card we pulled is the 9 of clubs. So clubs is intellectual. It's always an academic or intellectual challenge. And so for this month, we have you finding a work or school related certification or some sort of a class that you'd like to explore for either career or school enhancement. Why do I use the word enhancement? Because everything isn't about advancing, right? We don't always need to get a certification to go to the next level or to do the next thing, because a lot of times the next thing brings on more responsibility. But you can always look for stuff that's enhancing your current situation, your current job process, or if you're on your way somewhere. I want you to enhance what you're doing right now with something that's either pleasant or that would make life easier if you knew this thing, right? What certifications are around you that you could participate in? So these are your 4 cards this month that's playing for keeps. You have a physical challenge, a self-love challenge, a spiritual challenge, and an intellectual challenge. All right. And just to recap, we talked a little bit about this being Women's History Month. We gave some shout outs. And then we talked about the 9 things that you can do to be youthful, to improve your health and to feel younger and look younger. I hope you took notes. And then we're going to talk next month. We just want to give you a little teaser. So April, our show next month is going to be April 1st, right? And I don't know if you know this, but April is National Minority Health Month. Okay, this was a month that was started in 2001, and it was in response to the U.S. Department Health and Human Services Healthy People 2010 Challenge. To their campaign, rather. And so it builds awareness about disproportionate burden of premature death and illness in the minority populations. It encourages us to do things like, health education, early detection, and control of some of the diseases that are complicated in our community. And then there's some other things. Again, April's good for a lot of stuff. April's known for autism awareness, child abuse awareness and prevention. But the last one I want to mention is April that I didn't know was National Humor Month. We all should embrace that, okay? Because because humor and laughing is really medicine for the soul. So we'll talk more about that in April, but I want y'all to be ready for that. But in March, we're celebrating women, and I want you to celebrate you by doing the things that we talked about. You have 4 challenges before you. Choose a week to do all of those challenges. You don't have to only drink calming tea for 1 week. You can do it all month, but for at least 1 week, right? And these are ways that you can do some small things, little by little, to basically show yourself some love as we are playing for keeps. I'm trying to make y'all live longer and happier and fuller lives. So that's Playing for Keeps with Dr. Yolanda, and Mind, Body, and Soul. I'm sorry, Mind, Body, and Stress. That's here. That's for March of this month. And we will see you all back on April 1st.